I now have the pleasure of bringing our next panel on device-powered inspiration and where to find it to the stage. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, Des Yap, founder of DesFit, Kelly Hancox, Senior Director of Global Partnerships at Garmin, Jonathan Bensamoun, co-founder and CEO of Phi, and Dorothy Kilroy, Chief Commercial Officer at ŌURA. Quick note, a huge thank you for the Strava and Phi partnership, because seeing my good friend Rebecca's dog King take 3 walks a day is truly the most joy. The most joy. Welcome them to the stage.
All right, so first off, show of hands, how many of you out there have some sort of connected fitness device, whether that's a smartwatch, a health wearable like an ŌURA ring, bike computer, or maybe even a Phi dog collar? I think that's almost everyone out there.
Good company.
Yeah, exactly. So how does it feel to see so many people in this audience, as well as probably millions of others, use their devices like every day that are going to be very integral to their health and fitness?
Well, truly, it's motivating. And it's also an honor. I think as a Garmin associate, it's a part of our Garmin DNA. And really, our mission is to build products that are an essential part of our customers' lives. So it's important for us that when we think about that role that we play, and thinking about our customers wake up in the morning and they first look at their Garmin watch and they see the Garmin morning report, and then they see how well they slept. And really, we've always been working to launch products that fuel people's passion. So whether you're a runner, whether you're a cyclist, a dancer, a surfer, a hiker, a golfer, a mariner, or a pilot, we have built purpose-driven products for you.
Dora, how about you?
Gosh, a group like this, I'm going to admit I'm slightly intimidated. You know, I think I get inspired by intimidation a little bit like this. We talked before we came on stage here what our stress scores are, and I'm someone right before getting on stage like this. I get like super stressed, like my hands are sweaty, and if you guys want to clap a little for me, I'd probably. You know, and I think a group like this is where a lot of health and wellness has come from the fitness industry. And I think Strava is a great example of a community-driven product that brings people together to do better. And so I get inspired by the conversations because people are asking for more features, more things that they want, more things that maybe they want to track or learn about their bodies. And so I'm just inspired.
So Jonathan, we should definitely talk about Phi and your product as well, because it's extremely innovative. So maybe give the audience a little bit of a breakdown of what your product's all about, because it's brought something very unique to this connected fitness space.
So sure, thank you. Yeah, so the Phi collar is a smart collar for dogs. The core functionality is GPS and cellular tracking. So the number one functionality is really keeping the dog safe and knowing where the dog is at any point of time. The second part of the product is very health-oriented, so we do steps tracking, activity tracking, sleep tracking, and pretty detailed analysis of like what's happening to the dog now.
Fantastic. So we are actually coming up on, what, the 21st anniversary of the Garmin Forerunner. So the Garmin Forerunner was, yeah, the first ever running smartwatch, and then we've had Fitbit come a little bit later on down the road, kind of making steps, kind of like a household phrase, and then ŌURA had, in 2015, is that correct? You started your Kickstarter campaign for something very unique there, and then everyone's closing the rings, and then obviously we have Phi with something extremely unique to the space. So what have you guys all learned from the past that you're bringing to your future products, especially considering that a lot of these devices are probably the next most important device than people's smartphone nowadays?
Well, I think you know, looking at where we've come from, and it's, you know, to think about 21 years, Garmin is a unique company, and we're always expanding the markets we serve. It seems like we have a new niche that we're going after always. And when we look at what Garmin has always done, we've always built products and we've always tried to solve tough challenges, and then we've always pushed the envelope of innovation. And it really started with our founders 35 years ago. Our founder had a vision that when the government opened the GPS satellites for civilian use, he had a vision that he wanted GPS in everyone's pocket. And look, it's true, and it's happened, and now we have GPS on everyone's wrist. And so when we look at the over 20 years of creating wearables, and Garmin creating the first one in 2003, before the phrase wearable was coined, and really looking at what we've been able to do, perseverance in solving tough engineering challenges, and innovation is really what we're all about.
Yeah, so at Fi, what was really interesting is that when we started this product, we really thought it was because, for safety mainly, right? Like it was about people not losing their dogs and being able to track them if the dog escaped the backyard, And very fast, we learned that the health side of the product was extremely important to dog owners. And when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Like the number one kind of concern for dog owners is how do I keep my dog in good shape, in good health, and how do I help them live as long as possible? And there is a massive correlation between the amount of activity the dogs are having and their average weight. And half of all the issues related to dog health in the US is directly correlated to dogs being overweight. So it becomes just a very powerful part of the product that we didn't expect at all in the first place. And what's really interesting is there is really no standard for how much is your dog supposed to walk today, And like if you go see a vet with your dog and say, how much am I supposed to walk my dog? He'll tell you on average half an hour a day. There is literally no science behind this. Like it's pure armchair recommendation. And what's really interesting is that now we have terabytes of data just giving us real data from the field, telling us by breed, by age group, how much the dogs out there are walking, and how much they're exercising and how much they're sleeping. And so that's allowed us to package that data and give it to our customers and be able to say, hey, we don't know what the right answer is, but we can show you exactly where your dog lives on the distribution of activity for exactly dogs that are similar to his breed, age group, etc.
So I guess going along the Fitbit term of 10,000 steps a day, is that like multiplied by 4 or 2?
That's like one of our most frequent questions. Like, what's a step for the dog? So like the step for the dog is every time one of the paw hit the ground. That's what we actually count. I'll break the legend here. Like you can stop guessing.
Gotcha. So Dor, how about you? How about the early phases of health technology and how?
Yeah, early stages of wearables to me, 1.0 was about that 10,000 steps. And for a lot of people, that was really dramatic and a huge help in inspiring them to move. But we've come so much further. Personally, I found the Garmin was my first product, my first wearable, and I still have it. I am not. It's still in my drawer, the very first version. I love that product. But personally, I found a lot of wearables were built by men for men, and they didn't know my body. They didn't understand the rhythms of my body and what was happening. What I'm inspired by, and I know this is what guides us a lot at ŌURA, is we think about that bold innovation where the ŌURA ring started, but for an underserved audience. And for an audience that is really got a low bar in what they're looking for, but has just an amazing reaction when you build something that resonates with them.
Great. So from a unique perspective of all your products, are there any special features or anything along those lines that specifically help motivate the world to move more? No.
Yeah, we have a passion for that, as Des talks about how to motivate the world. Beating yesterday is our company mantra. It's also been our advertising campaigns over the years, and it truly is impacting how we motivate the world, and it's a big part of everything we do. And so when you look at, for example, if you come to Garmin and our headquarters in Kansas City, you'll see that over lunch, a peloton of cyclists are departing, and all of those, most of those people are working in some capacity on our Edge cycling products or our Varia radar products. And you'll see the sidewalks and the trails full of walkers and runners. And even our aviation teams, a majority of them have their pilot's license. So we're able to create essential products for our customers' lives because we live and breathe the products and the markets we serve. And so we're always looking at new features and how we can continue to innovate and give customers the data and new experiences that further their active lifestyles. And so we have nearly 100 different activity types where we have honed in and are capturing the core metrics that are important for that activity. One of the new activities that we recently launched this year was adaptive sports. So we measure wheelchair pushes. And it's really interesting when you look at our Garmin Connect reports that we can truly see how the world is moving, and we do that in nearly every country around the world.
Yeah, it's, you know, that extra motivation for, you know, not necessarily anything typical, you know, for sure. So yeah, and actually I visited Garmin last year for Global Running Day, and I visited some other companies as well. And, you know, these companies, it's amazing that fitness and movement is like really part of that culture. That was something that, you know, when I first arrived at whatever 6 a.m. for the morning run. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were just, it's amazing how many people actually just live and breathe that every single day. So, so yeah, Jonathan, on your end of things though, I would have to assume that, is this like providing extra motivation for individuals?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think, you know, dogs are really a blessing for their parents. You know, like if you have a dog, you know that your dog is taking you out more than you're taking the dog out. And you know, there is definitely a relationship, a direct relationship between how much you walk and how much you exercise and how much you take your dog out, right? And so what we try to create there is we try to help the dog parent be accountable for like how much they're supposed to walk their dog, right? We let them set their own goal for the dog, right? But like me first, like I'll come back home at the end of the day and I'm like, wait, how much did I really walk my dog, you know? And so putting that up just allows me to like just say, okay, like 25,000 steps, I need to go for another walk tonight, you know? Because even if he doesn't behave, like he's not tired enough, like I know that's where I set the bar for myself, right? And so, you know, that's kind of like the first phase, right? It's like, hey, we just build that baseline. And I think, you know, everybody who's on Strava and who is an athlete, like knows that like compliance is super important into just building these habits, right? So we kind of build a tool to help dog parents continue building that habits of walking their dog enough. And then obviously, you know, when we do integrations like the one with Strava, I mean, hugely successful. Everybody who loves to run with their dogs started connecting their account, posting there, and now you get the competitive aspect, like layering it on top of it, right? Like we get rankings, people, you know, you were here at dinner last night, right? Like as soon as you start mentioning, oh, you have five, people are like, how many steps? How many steps? Why are you in the ranking? My dog is top 20%. Like, you know, and people are getting incredibly, you know, competitive, and it's great. Like we want to encourage that. I think we just celebrated like passing 500,000 walks on Strava, and I think we launched integration something like 2 months ago. So that's pretty awesome. Like that's growing fast, and we're excited about it.
It's funny. Like I don't currently have a dog, but your product has made me like think about getting a dog.
That's where we set the bar.
Because I just like geek out on that sort of technology. Yeah.
We can help. We know people.
Huh? I bet you. I bet you do. Exactly. Yeah. So Dor, how about you in terms of motivation from ŌURA to help the world move?
Yeah. So at ŌURA, we believe that everybody deserves a voice, and that what's happening in their body, for a lot of people, they don't know. And I think that's beyond just whether they move or not. We believe all movement counts, whether that's your yard work, whether that's taking a walk to the bus stop for your commute, or whether that's maybe going for a challenge to climb Mount Everest. All movement counts. And for a lot of people, it's quite intimidating to just move, right? And I know this group has very little lack of motivation for that, but for a lot of people in the world, it can be very hard. What is really important is to understand the rhythms of your body and what it needs on that day, and every body is unique. So I don't know about many of you, but if you wear an Oura ring or another wearable, you might wake up in the morning and the best thing for you might be another hour of sleep. It might not be getting up and grinding on the treadmill or getting out on the trails. It actually might be more honoring what you need that day. How's your stress? How's your heart rate overnight? What are you doing? Where are you in your cycle? If you're someone who has a cycle, what does that impact on how you should move? And so I think we are complex humans with a lot of different biometrics that we need to look at. And so when we think about movement, I don't think it's always go harder, go faster. We're in a world now where we respect and honor what our bodies need. And it's hard to sometimes know what it needs. And so give every body a voice is what sort of guides us in some of those product decisions.
So that kind of brings up the next thing I wanted to touch on is the Hawthorne effect. So that's basically the concept of we can only measure what we actually track. So in terms of everyone's products here, are there unique features that your users have found them to be the most useful to benefit their health and well-being, whether that's steps, miles, sleep, HRV, stuff like that, Kelly?
Yeah, I would say all of the metrics are important across Garmin. No, in all seriousness, our products are really built to capture the metrics and the data in any conditions, whether you're out sweating in the heat running or if you're sleeping. And with our battery life, which is measured in weeks and months, we can capture more data 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we can do that and provide more fitness and health insights for our customers. So when you look at performance athletes, for example, HRV status, training readiness, and training status really help to give the athletes the information and understanding of their overall fitness and help them to understand if they're ready for the training that they have planned that day. When you look at recovery, for example, the feature that we have to provide overnight HRV can really show the athletes and customers if they're ready and their body is ready for that training. So really, when you look at wellness, we have a lot of different features. Some of my favorites, body battery, sleep score, and stress, which we should probably check. How's our stress?
Stress. Let's see here.
I'm at 85.
Oh boy, mine's in the orange.
Oh, and he's usually blue, always.
Yeah,
so.
I'm just like a low stress individual.
Oof.
Huh? Dor, how about you?
I'm off the charts here.
Off the charts?
I'm reaching new highs. Not in a good way on my stress score, but.
But Dor, how about your product in terms of the?
Well, first of all, not all stress is bad. We know that, right?
Yeah.
It's what we do with it. You know, I think everybody has unique metrics that they need to track. It's probably not one. I'll talk about something topical and maybe personal to me. Any parents in the audience? Yeah. You're amazing. One of the biggest things I'm concerned about with my kids right now, and it's not just my kids, but it's mental health. Can you relate, right? And the amount of time we are all on screens, and I am as guilty as every one of us here who doom scrolls at night. You know who I really do think about we need to get off of our screens more. We need to look after our mental health more. We need to find ways to really unwind. And I think it's very easy to say, you know, you go to your doctor and your doctor says, well, just don't be so stressed. I've never had kind of worse advice said to me because that actually even stresses me out more.
That's what I just told you back then.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
It's like, don't be stressed.
But I find that personally, I'm someone who does well with tracking how am I coping with that stress? Is my body getting the sleep that it needs and going into that rest phase at night? Do I get better deep sleep? And am I managing that stress so I can avoid burnout? I'm not intuitive on it. Anyone who is, more power to you. I am not intuitive on it. I will keep going. I will drink more of the coffee. I will do more of the multitasking. I will just take more of the calls and do all of those things. And I think that that's really human of us. And so I think making sure that we look after people's mental health with information that helps them avoid that burnout. We're just touching on the science of this. We spend a lot of time on science and research at ŌURA, and really thinking about the next layers of mental health and how we can really support our members with that. So I'm excited for more on that in the future.
No, I think that really brings up a great point, is that everyone in this room, in the Strava type audience, we're all used to sharing our activities and our our achievements and stuff like that. So, but the other really important part of fitness, of course, is recovery, because and I think that's been making a lot of strides in recent years with, ŌURA, Garmin, as well as some other brands. So do you feel like there's any opportunities on the recovery side of things in the connected fitness space in kind of like a social manner that can kind of help promote that? Because, again, it's like we'll all get kudos on a marathon, but maybe not kudos on an excellent sleep score or something. Yeah, Dor?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think that I think we could be more vulnerable in sharing the time that we focus on our mental health, our rest and recovery. And I think it's really bold when people do it, because we're still, and different cultures are different. I'm from Ireland originally. I definitely see a difference in the US. I've been living in the US now for 15 years. Oh man, we love to go here. Like, it's so good and it feels great, but like it takes its toll on all of us. And so I'm beginning to see a movement of more influencers, more people in social media being a lot more vulnerable with sharing their struggles, and I think that helps. Will it get to a world where they're starting to share their sleep scores? I hope so. I can tell you, I have a lot of data on Oura Ring users. We don't sleep enough in the US. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you can too, Kelly, compared to other countries, it is crazy, you guys. Go home and sleep. Like, hit that snooze button. And you know what's even more shocking? I'm sorry, Elsa. But the studies we've done have all been on men. So this vague 8 hours sleep a night, done on men. Not true for women. And so just think about that. Everybody is different, and the rest you need changes all the time. Sleep a little more.
Kelly, how about you on the recovery side of things?
I think we look at that and we see the sleep data from our Garmin Connect report, and the US is ranked 30th in sleep, and women sleep less than men. There's so much data there, and I think that now that we have the information, we can truly make adjustments and have visibility and awareness to what our bodies are doing, what we're doing to our bodies actually, and make improvements and hopefully have mental health benefits from that as well.
So I think Phi is kind of interesting here too, because not all our dogs can go join us on our marathons or our century bike rides or anything like that. So has Phi encouraged athletes to share more on their, maybe their active recovery days or their rest days, in terms of being able to do an activity and still be social and kind of sharing that experience?
Yeah, so I don't think Phi really encouraged the athletes to share the resting periods, but there is definitely an aspect of the product that's really deep around the rest analysis for the dogs. And the reason for that is the dogs are polyphasic animals, right? So they complete their rest time in multiple phases, one of which happen to be at night, but they sleep during the day as well. And so observing these trends and starting to chart pattern there, it's super powerful, because nobody has done that before, So that's super interesting. The other part that's really interesting, that there is a ton of indicators that a dog owner can leverage to take action on the health of the dog based on this, right? One of the things we design at Phi is that thing called strength score, which is basically a ratio of the activity by rest, right? And depending on the type of rest as well, right? So we make the difference between the dog is laying down, the dog is laying down and actually sleeping. And that basically helped the owner make sure that the dog kind of maintains a level of exhaustion that's in the right zone, in the right area. And the last thing I would say is that night monitoring is really important with our product as well, because what happens to dogs at night, by definition, we don't know we're sleeping. So when we started designing night detection and analysis, I was talking to a friend of mine who is a vet, and he was telling me, hey, can you detect when the dog wakes up during the night? And I'm like, of course. And he's like, can you detect how frequently and for how long? We're like, absolutely, right? But I'm like, why do you want to do this? And he's like, well, because we have these dogs who start to have kidney issues. And one of the main symptom of it is that they're going to start waking up more and more frequently during the night to go drink. And so like we built that whole panel that is like night monitoring that allows you to see when your dog is sleeping and when he's waking up for how long and how often. And if we see a trend change in that pattern, we'll notify you. So like it's really interesting to see how like night for animals is so different than like the concept of rest for humans, and how we can like connect in some places and overlap in others.
As long as our dogs don't get us up in the middle of the night. Right?
They will.
Yeah, they will. Exactly right. So one of the points that Mike, the CEO of Strava, brought up earlier in his keynote was the building for her. So I know that ŌURA, they definitely, or you guys definitely have a lot of features that are centered around women. So how is ŌURA building authenticity for women with your product?
Yeah. So I mentioned a lot of early wearables were built by men for men. And one of the things we've done is changed the makeup of inside our company, first of all, to make sure that we're represented for products that we want to build for the people that we want to serve. This is Women's Health Month, if you didn't hear. And one of the things that we have committed to is making sure that we have more science and research for women. This morning we announced a study that we're doing on menopause with the University of Berkeley. We are so excited about this. We hear so much feedback from our members who are struggling with sleep and stress and metabolic health and energy, and it goes on, and they've been underserved, and it's time to change that. We have a lot of features already for women. Actually, the most proud thing I am about ŌURA right now is our fastest growing group is women under 25. And we had this myth internally at ŌURA is that this smart ring, it's too expensive for younger people, and we will never grow with that group. And we told ourselves that myth. And it surprised us when this was the fastest growing group. And what they're interested in is tracking their cycle. They're interested in tying that to their sleep and their stress. And they feel like they're underserved when they go to the doctor's office. They go to the doctor's office. I had this, honestly, I will try not to get emotional because I get very passionate about this, so forgive me. I was traveling last week. I had some work in Paris, and a young German lady ran up to me. Oh my God, is that an ŌURA ring? And I was so flattered. I was like, oh my God. She wanted to try it on. I was like, I could not stop smiling. And I asked her, why, how have you heard about it? Why do you want it? She was probably around 20 years old. And she said, oh, everybody is talking about it because it tells you when your period is due. And I said, well, that's great. Did you not know, or where have you struggled with that? She said, no. You go to the doctor's office, and you know what they tell you? Oh, you've got a sore knee. Take the pill. Oh, you've got a headache. Take the pill. Oh, you feel like you've got depression? Take the pill. And this is how she framed it to me. And I thought it was so sad that there was this fabulous, vibrant 20-year-old who felt failed by the healthcare system, but could see that that wasn't right, and she had to go seek solutions herself to go figure that out. So I tell you this story because I think this is the kind of stories that inspires you to go, wait a second. Like, if young women are figuring this out, we need to move faster on innovating more and better features for them to be able to literally put health into their own hands and be able to advocate for what they need.
So Kelly, I know that you have been pretty instrumental with leading a lot of women's-specific products, especially recently. You released a women's-specific heart rate monitor as well. HRM Fit, yep. And watch my review if you need to. It's not my review, by the way. And as well as a lot of other health wearables. So tell us about that journey and kind of the backstory behind that.
Sure. I'm super passionate about women and wearables and producing products for women with features for women, and trying to solve the problem of not having visibility into your own body and health for women. But when you think about it from a historical perspective, as you guys have probably seen, a lot of companies follow the shrink it and pink it strategy when they try to appeal to women. You guys have seen it. I mean, what makes you feel like I'm understood by having something just a little smaller and a little pinker? I'm kidding, but in all honesty, Garmin did not follow that strategy. But in the beginning, it was all about the technology that was in our products, and they mostly came in one color. Do you want a Garmin watch in black? Do you want this Garmin watch in black? And do you want this activity tracker in black? And so when we first launched our activity trackers, the VivoFit, I actually spray painted my VivoFit gold because you're wearing it all day.
Love it.
And I wanted it to go with the rest of what I was wearing. And so from that point, Garmin really wanted to build products for women and expand our audience. And so in 2014, with my passion for Garmin products and also passion for representing women, I took two actions, and it triggered two things. The first one is that, and maybe I was sick of spray painting my VivoFit gold. Who knows? But either way, the first thing we did was launch brand collaborations that enabled our products to have accessory bands and pieces that were a style collection that fused fashion with fitness technology. And then the second thing I did was identify that we needed to come up with a group of women at Garmin, and we needed to help embrace what our company was trying to do. And so myself and two other Garmin leaders, we came together, and over 10 years ago, we started Garmin's Women's Business Forum. And we not only wanted to develop the potential of women and unite women that were members of Garmin's company, but we also wanted to really positively impact Garmin's business and the products we developed. And so we did just that. We've become a global resource group. We are instrumental in the development of our products to really further what women need. And it's been a great journey. And Garmin has truly embraced it in an authentic way. We've incorporated designs including colors, materials, finishes, and features like menstrual cycle tracking and pregnancy tracking. And as Des mentioned, we just launched our HRM Fit, which is a heart rate monitor built by women. Our entire engineering team was women for women, and it fits on women's sports bras in a more comfortable way so they can get the metrics they need to be able to continue pushing themselves and training the way that they want to. And our Women's Business Forum was instrumental in the testing and the product feedback and the whole journey of it. And so it was really rewarding.
That's interesting. Jonathan, are you seeing anything on that side? I know we talked.
Nothing for you.
You have
like dogs.
But so I mean, but is
dogs
it
mom, dogs dad, everyone.
It's not a shrink it. It's not a shrink it and pink it approach.
No shrinking.
No, definitely not.
Okay. So AI was brought up earlier as well in the Strava keynote, and so this wouldn't be a tech panel without talking about AI in there. So are there any opportunities with artificial intelligence right now that's kind of guiding your future products? So, John?
Yeah, I mean, like most of our focus today is literally on AI. And I think when we talk about AI, usually we talk about a lot of different things, right? So obviously we're not talking that much about generative AI, and We're not trying to design the color that speaks for the dog and all of that. It would be cool though. But what we're definitely trying to do is leverage like the terabytes of data we're ingesting about the behavior of the dogs to like actually elevate what we can learn from the dog's behavior and deliver even more value to the dog parent, right? Like when you think about it, communication for a dog is 99% nonverbal, right? Like everybody who has a dog knows that like they move in a certain way when they need to go out. They move in a certain way when they're stressed. We detect something weird in the morning. We're like, what, is it limping? Like what's happening? You know, like we have sensors that can actually like gather the data that codify the movements of these dogs in space, right? So what we're trying to do now is, can we actually build a model that identify things about the dog before you can even notice it, you know, just out of like trends, like out of small, you know, small signals or small deviation from the baseline of a signal that allow us to say, hey, there is something going on with the dog, you know? And so that's like at the dog level. And then what we're trying to do after that is, can we try building models that actually draw patterns at the population level? Right? Can we actually look at all the German Shepherds in the US right now and start to see if your dog is taking deviation based on age, activity, etc., of like the actual pattern that he should be following, right? And so that's super interesting. There is no limit to what we can do there, and like we're really working really hard on making this happen.
Interesting. So Dor, you mentioned earlier about looking at a lot of the data, you know, at least from just you actually looking at the data in terms of like people needing more sleep. So how can AI be leveraged in that equation to guide future products?
Yeah, we've been using AI for a long time at ŌURA. ŌURA got started in Finland, and half of our development team are there, and they've been using AI for many years, machine learning. One example is our automatic activity detection. I don't know if any ŌURA members in the audience, and we've recently, with success, detected what movement you've been doing. You know, we really want to be able to train on you. Same with sleep, same with SpO2, period prediction, VO2 max, all of the features that we're adding. I think the key that I think is really important in sort of AI is not looking at you versus a population, it's looking at you versus you, right? And understanding what are the deviations from where you've been, and then being able to help coach you through those. And I think a lot of, I'll go back to it, but I think a lot of health data today has been focused on you versus population. So when I was pregnant, and I was lucky enough to be wearing my ŌURA ring at the time, but when I was pregnant, you know, I have low blood pressure relative to a general population of women my age. But we are anything but general. And when I would go to get my checkups, and I had a high-risk pregnancy, I had monodi twins, I was huge and I loved it, it was so good. They had to monitor me every week. And so I would go in and they would check my blood pressure and they would say, yep, you're fine. And in the last few weeks of my pregnancy, it really spiked up. So I went in and they said, no, you're fine, you're still within range. And I said, no, this is not my range. And they said, yeah, but we have a baseline range and that's what you need. That resulted in preeclampsia. That resulted in HELLP syndrome. That meant that I was in the ICU for 10 days and did not see my babies. And so we are not against a general health population. We should be using AI to understand against ourselves. So this is, I think, where AI in healthcare is going to really change. And I think this is where we're going to see dramatic changes as a society. We don't have to wait to find out for afibrillation. We don't have to wait to find out for hypertension. We don't have to wait to find out that you have a fertility issue. What if you could find this out, be proactive about it? And that's where I think AI will change.
Kelly, any opportunities from Garmin's end of things on AI?
We continue to evaluate new technologies, and today Garmin is using forms of AI like machine learning and neural networks. And so now we are looking at how can we take these more powerful forms of AI and implement them in a safe way that protects our customers and our experiences into our products and services.
That's awesome. So looking back, we have had what seems like a very quick journey with connected fitness, but it's been 20 plus years at this point. So looking back, what do you guys see as lessons learned that you can actually bring to the future of products? So whether that be for possibly children or integrating that sort of thing into the future?
Yes. When I think of Des talking about the next generation, it truly makes me think about kids and the future and their health and fitness. And in 2016, Garmin launched our VivoFit Junior product. It was an activity tracker and tracked activities as well, specific activities. And then 6 years later, we launched an LTE-enabled smartwatch. And we not only had these products that could help kids see how active they were and get insights into what they were doing in their movement, but we also gamified the fitness. We created adventures, and the more that they moved, the more levels that they unlocked in their adventure in our companion mobile app, the VivoFit Junior. And so really, when I look at what we can do and helping kids to have visibility and be motivated, it's something that we continue to push and strive for. We launched a Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel collaboration with the VivoFit Junior, where we took those beloved characters and stories and gamified them into our adventures to continue to push and try to motivate kids in new ways. My twin daughters, I didn't know you had twins, so.
Awesome. Love it.
My twin daughters have continued to see us live an active lifestyle, and these products have been incredible. They've been able to test them, and for them to see what they're doing and to pay attention to the data has really motivated them to continue to exercise in new ways that I never imagined.
So Jonathan, I would have to imagine for your product that it's probably, it may be bringing families together, right? In terms of the future generation.
Yeah, I mean, like the number one thing for us, like I think wearables started earlier in terms of like, household penetration. So like now you see that on like a lot of people, but like come back to, 2005, wasn't that obvious? So we're kind of in that stage. We're early in the curve on the dog side, but we really can't imagine a future at this point where in 5-10 years from now you don't have like 10-20 million dogs in the US like wearing a smart collar. And so we really want to get to that stage where you put that collar on your dog, and then just out of pure magic you start getting all these insights about what's going on. And like it really helps you kind of onboard on that dog ownership, because for anyone who had a dog for the first time, like you have no idea what's going on. Like you just Google things around and try to like learn, right? And this is like having all of that data and being able to instrument it for dog parents and be able to like learn the things that you need to care about versus the thing that you can completely ignore. It's like really powerful and interesting. And I think, in line with what you were saying about AI, like for us, the next level is really about being able to start being predictive. Right? It's like, hey, we see these signals early. We know you're going to end up with that condition. Like, so we want to give you the signal early enough, right? Like, there is nothing more traumatic than just losing your dog suddenly and not having been able to like see the signs earlier, So like, that's really what we're working on.
Dora, any opportunities for the future for future generations?
Yeah, we're going to go straight after the juggernaut of the big healthcare industry, and we're going to take it down. This crowd is so good.
But that's really what it's all about. It's like actually being more aware, right? Like to actually save on our medical bills.
What we're doing today is sick care. We treat people when they are sick. We wait until they are sick. We're crippled with the economy on it. We're living a lower life expectancy than our parents, and nobody feels good. Our mental health is at an all-time high, cardiac health, fertility is getting worse, like all of these big health issues. And we have so much more technology and we have so much more data. I think the way through this is to empower the individual. We say like putting the member as the CEO of their own health. Giving our care providers continuous data that is not a one snap 10-minute appointment where they're supposed to take all your metrics and know everything about you, and then you go home and Google everything yourself. There should be much more cohesion in the industry of working with them. I think we have this chance with AI, with technology, with wearables, to actually really change sick care to health care. And the real word is care there. And so we're hoping to keep doing that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait for, I can't wait for what's next. Like, I'm always excited to see what technology is around the corner for sure. So, so yeah, that's actually, we're right at basically time. Yeah, so I learned a lot today. I hope you guys did too.